So now moving on to each candidate's individual question. We are keeping the same order, so Mr. Nora gets the first question here tonight. You have been successful as a venture capitalist, and you've have a successful business background as well. You have said that that business background will help you govern the state. However, you would certainly need the support of a very likely Democratic legislature. So you have 60 seconds here to answer. Since you have no government experience, how would you get anything done if elected as governor?
So first and foremost, when you've been a venture capitalist like I have, if you think that the legislature is a problem, try working with other venture capitalists. Okay? They're the smartest people in the room, and usually they are, and they know everything better than everybody else, and that was just in my partnership. Now think about the investments I was involved in outside of my partnerships, where we had boards of directors consisting of 7 to 8 to 9 people. So I think dealing with the actual people in Carson City is going to be easy for me, having dealt what I've dealt with before. And it takes an outsider. So I'm not going to come in with the biases, even the bias that you just say, oh, well, yeah, it's going to be hard to work with these people. It's the total opposite. I come in with nothing to lose and a lot to gain for the people in Nevada. I'm working for them. I'm not working the system. I'm not a politician. I'm just trying to solve problems for the people in Nevada. And that's what I'm going to be doing, and that's how I will do it.
Mr. Nora, thank you. Vanessa has our next individual question.
Thank you. This next question is for Mr. Lombardo. Kevin McMahill is running for Clark County Sheriff, the position you currently hold. He was your second in command at the department before he retired, and you've endorsed him to replace you as sheriff. In 1995, when Kevin McMahill was a Metro police officer, a fellow Metro officer says she witnessed McMahill and his partner commit misconduct during a stop. Following the incident, McMahill failed a polygraph. We're going to play part of an 8 News Now I-Team report.
They made me come over by their car and lift my skirt and show my privates. And then they took me to the front of the car and they went through my purse and they found a small amount of crack cocaine. And they said if I wanted to go, that I would have to eat that.
Did you ever ask a woman while you were working as an officer to see her genitals?
Never. I'm an Irish guy. I wear my emotion on my sleeve. I was huffing and puffing, and I was very upset before I ever got hooked up to that box. No chance in hell that I ever passed that test.
Mr. Lombardo, you have 60 seconds to answer. Do you believe Kevin McMahill's 2 female accusers?
Well, all I know is that one particular, I don't know anything about the other female accuser. The one female accuser has been impeached for lack of integrity in another case that I've become aware of. And quite often I got asked questions. First of all, I think this is a ridiculous question. It has nothing to do with running this for the state of Nevada for the governor's position. And but I will opine on it, and I will discuss it because you're questioning my ability to endorse this individual. I believe that's the direction you're going with this. And I support Kevin McMahill 100%. This is an incident that took place 25 years ago, and he went through the due process associated with that, and he was cleared associated with those crimes. He had worked for 3 previous sheriffs prior to me before rising up into the ranks, and then I eventually made a decision to make undersheriff, and he did a fantastic job during his tenure as the undersheriff.
Mr. Lombardo, thank you. You mentioned she was impeached. Have you seen documentation to show that in 30 seconds?
Yes, I have.
Okay, thank you. Denise has the next question.
Moving on now to Mr. Gilbert. You have called to reopen the investigation into the 1 October shooting, saying on your Facebook page, cover up, where's the money? Who was in that room? Mr. Gilbert, you have 60 seconds to answer. What do you think about the 1 October shooting was covered up?
It's very simple. You know, I spent a lot of time, first of all, I lived in Las Vegas from 2003 till 2008. I opened a business down here 2013 through 16. A lot of friends down here, and every time I'm down here, someone brings up the Route 91 shooting. Whether it's the money or whether it's finding out who was all in that room, they don't believe that the investigation was done properly. I've even met with Metro officers, and they've all said that at the end of the day, that there's just, you know, there hasn't been full transparency on what took place. There's timelines that are off. There's, you know, things that are, you know, we look at witness statements, you look at video, and again, I've dug in as much as I can. I do not have the knowledge that others do. So as I've said, and I've said this numerous times, I reserve that from once when I'm in as governor and I can take a look at it. At the end of the day, I'm not going to call anybody's integrity into question, but I'll just say that it's been told to me numerous times that there was not necessarily a cover-up, but people haven't been forthright. There's not enough transparency, and I said as governor to get to the bottom of it. I think Nevadans are due an answer 5 years later if there's still questions.
So, Mr. Lombardo, you were cleared out there talking about the fact that he doesn't feel there was transparency. He has questions about this investigation. Mr. Lombardo, let me give you a moment to reply to that.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Well, I was directly involved in that incident, as you can imagine, and I lived it for several years, even today. And for people to impugn my officer's integrity and the investigation associated with that is ridiculous. And I stand by them in all aspects of that investigation, and to include the allegations that I embezzled, along with Mr. Sisolak, $30 million associated with that for the victims. We have posted on my website the distribution of that money to disprove those allegations. Every day I'm presented with individuals based with Joey Gilbert's campaign accusing me of an improper investigation, a cover-up, a conspiracy, and embezzling the $30 million. We have posted the full investigation, different than any police department in the entire nation in this aspect involving a mass shooting. The full investigation is posted on the LVMPD website in full color for people to fully review.
Mr. Lombardo, thank you for that. Steve?
Mr. Heller, this next question is for you. Back in 2006, you told the Review Journal that you were pro-choice. In January of this year, you said you were pro-life. In 2017, you said at a town hall that you'd protect Planned Parenthood and had no problem with federal funding for it. The next day, your campaign clarified that you opposed funding for Planned Parenthood. So, Mr. Heller, the question is this, and you have 60 seconds to reply. How can voters trust that the positions you're taking today will be the same positions you take if you're elected?
Well, first of all, I am pro-life, and I'm proud of it. Let's get that clear. And some of those questions or concerns that you brought up, I was probably more libertarian at the time when I kind of kept a hands-off situation here when it came to the abortion question. When I got to Congress, I had to make a decision, and I have an A+ rating with the Nevada Right to Life and the National Right to Life. I have always voted consistently in that manner. Having said that, the Planned Parenthood comment, yes, I have to admit that I misspoke. I was talking about mammograms and women's health, not funding for Planned Parenthood. I have my record is very, very clear, 100%, having voted against any funding for Planned Parenthood. My record will continue when I am governor of this state to be pro-life. I am proud of the fact that we have 2 Supreme Court justices back in Washington, D.C. that are going to overturn Roe v. Wade, Kavanaugh, and Gorsuch, and I voted for both of them to bring this issue back to the state of Nevada, because it's time for us to have a discussion here in the state of Nevada and where we want to go on this particular issue.
Thank you, Mr. Heller. Vanessa?
Thank you. The next question is for Mr. Lee. On April 10th, a firearms instructor made racist comments at a training event for concealed weapons permits. You were sitting in the front row at the time. Let's take a look at a brief clip.
Always lick the chicken grease off your fingers before shooting. Always make sure there's a white person around so you have someone to blame for everything that goes wrong in your life.
Mr. Lee, you have 60 seconds. You are the only Republican running for office in attendance that hasn't publicly commented on that presentation. Here's your opportunity tonight.
Yeah, so I was sitting there, and that was like 10, 12 seconds, whatever it was, and I was on the front row because I wanted to learn as much as I could. This was an opportunity for me to understand the CCW laws. And he made those stupid statements. And after the event, I went up to him and said, you should never do that. If you want to be a successful businessman, you need to learn how to curb your mouth. You need to learn how to curb your presentation. Now, when people started calling me, it's not my job to try to run him out of business. It's not my job to follow the press and follow along and do what they want me to say and do. I had a private conversation with him. But why was I getting a CCW? That was the thing. I was there because North Las Vegas, we used to be #1 in crime. We're not anymore. I put $10 million more in the budget. We have 200 more police officers. We opened our jail. And so right now, we're #4 in crime. We've got Metro, Joe Lombardo, Sparks, Reno, and then us as where the crime is. I went on the strip the other day. It smelled like everybody smoked marijuana there. It just felt so dangerous. I thought I might need to get a CCW if I'm getting gas and some of these goofy people are coming out the strip, and I need to protect my family. So that's why I was getting a CCW.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. And to clarify, you mentioned you spoke privately with the instructor, but again, to clarify, 15 seconds, did you find that offensive?
Yeah, I did, and that's why I went up. It's like when people take a picture with me and they have a beer in their hand. It puts me in a position I don't want to be in. That gentleman heard from me, but he didn't have to hear me tell you how bad he was. I had already told him that. I'm not in for destroying people that are running businesses. I want to make sure they're successful, but they learn they need to stop doing it if they want to be successful.
Thank you. Denise has the next question.